Hi, thank you so much for being here with us today, Laura. I'm so excited. Um, Laura and I met at a studio in North Little Rock, Arkansas. I was teaching, and she started a teacher training program, a 200-hour teacher training program that was being held at that studio. And her and another girl that were in that training came to my Sunday class, and I believe that's the first time that I met her. And I just loved her vibe. I loved when she came to class. She was coming to class quite often, and I could tell she was really into learning a lot, and she ended up being hired at the studio. And then from there, we became friends and have done acro yoga and bike riding and all sorts of stuff. And she has just such an interesting background. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear how yoga has renewed hope in her life. So Laura.
Thanks, Melissa. Hi, I'm Laura Hendrix. I'm 58 years old, and I've been practicing yoga since about my maybe early to mid 40s. I started at the gym I used to go to, which I really liked. So a little shout out to Conway Regional Fitness Center in Conway, where I used to live. And I was a runner, and I did lots of strength training and really liked going to boot camp type classes at the gym where I went. And just as I was going to classes and trying to stay healthy, I wanted to include something for flexibility in my workout. So I really went for more of an athletic or fitness perspective when I started going to yoga classes. But then when I was in the yoga classes, I noticed how good I felt. And at Shavasana, at the end of the yoga class, which one of my teachers calls adult nap time, I noticed how relaxed I felt, so much so that it felt like it was the only time I really completely relaxed. And then I started going to yoga studios because I wanted more yoga than was available at the gym where I went, because it was just in one of the regular class rotations. So I wanted to go on more of an everyday basis, and I bought a yoga mat and started practicing at home, and really just noticed that it made me feel good. And so then I started going to, someone recommended Blue Yoga Nyla in North Little Rock, which is where I met Melissa. And that's where I started practicing on a regular basis and really practicing different types of classes. So restorative yoga, and then some more yoga classes with more movement and balance, some things that were a little more challenging. And one day when I was in yoga class, the owner, I was in one of her classes, Stacy Reynolds, mentioned that they were offering teacher training and that you could come if you wanted to learn and wanted to be a registered yoga teacher, or that it was just a great way to advance your practice, to deepen your practice. And so I went to the first teacher training, the 200-hour teacher training, just in an effort to deepen my own practice in yoga. I wasn't sure that I would ever teach, but kind of an interesting thing at the same time. So in my regular full-time day job, I call yoga my hobby job, or I have a friend who calls those a jobby, that kind of amalgamation of job and hobby. It's a jobby. But my regular full-time job, I work for the Cooperative Extension Service. And our organization has been around for over 100 years. And we are outreach education for the University of Arkansas system. And I work at the state office. I'm a state specialist in family and consumer sciences. And one of the things that we do is health outreach programs. And so we have both a yoga for kids program, and we were starting a chair yoga program. And as a part of my job, I work with the Arkansas Extension Homemakers. Their organization has been around since 1912. And they do continuing education, community development, and leadership development. And we were doing a chair yoga program with them. It's mostly women and mostly older adults. And I wanted to be able to support them in delivering that program to those mostly women. And there are nearly 4,000 of them around the state of Arkansas. So it was just kind of a great fit for me personally and professionally at the time I did the 200-hour teacher training. So not really ever intending to teach formally in a studio. And then by the time I finished that 200-hour training, Stacy asked me to teach at Blue Yoga Nyla, and I started and loved it, and I'm still teaching there today. So I've taught mostly either all levels or level 1 or level 1 plus, and still enjoy taking a variety of classes. One of my favorite classes there is a Wednesday night class that Stacy teaches. It's called Are You Kidding Me? And what I love about that is it feels like recess to me. So we do some kind of challenging poses. It's fun music. It's a little faster pace, and it just always feels like exploration and fun. And it's a great way for me to move every muscle in my body and just in a way that I can really completely relax at the end of class. So one of my favorite things. The other thing I really like about yoga, or that I've noticed as I've continued to practice, is, right now there's kind of this trend toward talking a lot about mindfulness and a lot of kind of a national conversation on how mindfulness and meditation are so good for us physically and for stress management and for healthy brain function. And in yoga, we really focus on the breathing. So inhaling and exhaling and breathing with the movement. And so when you're in a yoga pose and you're going through all of the physical articulations of, for example, maybe pressing through the blade edge of the back foot and bending into the front knee, and the front knee is falling more toward the outside of the foot instead of falling toward the middle of the mat, and you're engaging the core and lifting up through the crown of the head, and you're still remembering to relax your face and inhale and exhale. It's really hard to be anything but in the moment and in your breath. And there's a lot of research that actually shows that lowers cortisol and resets the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you're ever feeling a little stressed out, or if you're ever feeling like you're being triggered into that fight, flight, freeze mode, yoga and yoga breathing are such a great way to deal with that. And it's fun, and it keeps you fit, and it's a kind of fitness that we can do for the rest of our lives. I'm not sure that I can do high impact running for all of my life, or some of the things that are a little bit harder on our joints, but there are lots of different kinds of yoga, and yoga is something that most of us can continue to do for the rest of our lives.
Laura, I loved what you were saying about how we're supposed to be focusing on so many different things. It always cracks me up when someone tries a yoga class and says that they're bored, and I'm like, how are you bored? There was a lot that you should have been focusing on. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing how yoga has renewed hope in your life and the different ways that you've utilized it and researched it. And yeah, I hope to have you back when we have a different topic.
Thanks, Melissa.